All right, and for me, I chose to create a therapeutic art activity book, and it was a binder of resources. And so this section should really explore maybe your justification as well as research supporting whatever that deliverable may be. And as I mentioned in a previous video, your deliverable can be a broad range of things. It can be something tactile that you can hold. It could be something that is a workshop or a presentation you give. It could be a brochure. It could be some sort of a resource or research that you do, literature searches for the site to be able to help them better understand something they're interested in. It can be collaborative with maybe somebody else who's at your site, as long as you have a piece of it that's really yours. It could also be an event that you put on, or some sort of special presentation that you put on, and kind of planning for that. So it could be a lot of different things, and this is something that you will have to identify collaboratively with your instructor and with your site supervisor. So for this section, you can see it's a little busy. Yours may be busier, or maybe a little more focused. But for me, I had created 20 activities, and so I kind of had communication and listening skills as something I wanted to explore, and self-esteem. And then with each of these kind of concepts, so self-concept and self-efficacy, those are both terms used in clinical psychology. So I was identifying, where am I getting this information from? So we want you to be understanding what domain, what topic of psychology are you applying? Where have you been exposed to this information before? Where are you going to apply it now? So if you've got biological psych or developmental psychology, you want to be thinking about where you're pulling your data from, okay, your research from. So self-efficacy and self-concept is part of clinical psychology. It's also part of social psychology as well. Coping skills, BEM's self-perception theory is a developmental and social psychology theory as it's applied. And so I had an activity related to self-perception and smiling. I also had an activity focused on resisting confrontation, and so anger management, and that would be related to clinical psychology. Also emotional identification, masks activity with art that I had created. And you can see here, everywhere where I'm kind of linking reflections, you can see that I've kind of referenced some research, referenced a topic that I was pulling this information from. So my activities were really based in psychological research and data that's been out there, and findings that really support kind of our ways of understanding the world. I also have impression formation. Wegner's work with ironic processes, the white bear experiment. I had this ironic process picture activity, for example, as well as motivation, and the last activity was something to do with what's not wrong. So focus on positive psychology and solution-focused therapy. And so really being able to identify where you're getting this information as best you can, okay? And we would like you to go ahead and identify the area of psychology you're pulling information from, so you really are able to see the interconnectedness of these different domains of psychology. And then also in your mind map, there should be an area where you actually describe what you did as your deliverable. So that last section was kind of maybe talking about the justification and research for your deliverable. But make sure you also link your deliverable, if possible, in the mind map. So I created a binder with 20 art projects and activities. I also had in there leadership tips for milieu therapists regarding how to react to patient pictures and artwork. And then I go ahead and created a link to a Google folder that includes my deliverable, as well as the research articles that are referenced in my mind map. Okay, and so that folder you have access to as an example. And we'll go to that in a second. All right, so you have a section for your deliverable. And then lastly, there needs to be a section. So all those other sections can be kind of created and modified based on your topic, and really you can create a bigger mind map. You can create more connections in different areas, or organize it how you see fit. All right, but we do want at least one section that focuses on your identity and the personal impact of your project. All right, so when you look at what I've included here, these subsections here are not all necessary, but some of them are going to be really helpful for you. I reflected on which identities were particularly salient in the setting I was working in. And at the time, I was young. Well, I was young at the time, but I also still am a white female. And so those variables really played a role for me in the setting due to the fact that there was an eating disorder unit. And the other piece that was really prominent for me was my body. I'm a petite, if you don't know me, a very petite and short person. And so being around young people who had eating disorders, I was very acutely aware of how my appearance, who I was, could impact them, okay, and their perceptions of the world. And so in this section, I would reflect on things such as sexual objectification of women. I would reflect on the ideal body type for women, for men, and how my appearance could impact those around me. Because as people who are trained in psychology, you should always be aware of how others' identities impact you and how your identities impact them or could impact them. So you can reflect in greater depth in these little sections on other aspects of your identity as well, such as sexual orientation, social class, immigration history, your own immigration past, or language, etc., that might be impacting your interactions with people at the site. Also, you want to be reflecting on different aspects of your privilege and how in some of these different areas of diversity, cultural diversity, you're privileged, and you want to be aware of how that's impacting your perception as best as possible, as well as any biases and assumptions you have as you are at your site. We also want you to identify some of the greatest areas of growth that you experience while at your site, the things that really will stand out to you as you leave this experience, the service experience, and as you continue on in the world. And then lastly, some conclusions and the impact of the experience, both on the service learning site and for yourself. All right, so meaning that what did you leave, what do you think your contributions were to your site, as well as how will this experience impact you moving forward. So those are the key components of this service learning concept map. One thing to be thoughtful about is as you're going through your map, you'll see here I mentioned that I linked my deliverable. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and click on this link, and you'll see that it opens up a folder that has my example deliverable. So if you click on this, you'll see the deliverable I created back in 2004 when I was an undergraduate student at this site, and some of the activities that are in this packet that I created for them. This isn't a full example because the one that I actually gave the site had drawings and examples in it as well. Also, you'll see a folder in here for the PDF articles that are referenced in my concept map. And just for the purposes of this video, I went ahead and included our rubric in here. And this will differ based on who your faculty member is, but you'll see a rubric that helps you to know exactly that you're meeting the points needed to get full points on this concept map. Okay, so those are the key components of your psychology service learning digital concept map. Hopefully you have a good idea of the kinds of things you can reflect on to best be effective as you're going through this map, creating your ideas, finding research, finding videos, websites, different aspects of your surrounding to reflect on, as well as you are identifying something that you are going to provide for that site, whether it be something physical that you leave behind or some sort of experience that you foster at that site. So I hope that you enjoy your experience, and this concept map will help you visualize your thought process as well as the benefits that you experience along the way and any hardships or challenges you encounter as well.